Who were asked to be present at that gun violence summit: therapist Ashley McGirt and the executive director of Bridging Cultural Gaps, Ayanle Ismail. You both have personal experiences with gun violence, so we appreciate you being here to share that with us. Let us know how it has impacted each of your lives. Ashley, you go first.
Gun violence has impacted my life tremendously. Just this Tuesday, I attended the funeral of my boyfriend, brother, who was shot to the back of the head. And a couple years ago here in Seattle at a local public park was the first time I actually witnessed a man be shot less than 20 feet in front of me. And as a trauma-informed therapist, many of my clients who come to me, they've experienced a ton of gun violence. And so it's surrounded all around me, both personally, professionally.
And impacted you as well. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Ayanle, what has been your experience with gun violence?
I mean, I have a similar experience. Growing up as a young man, playing soccer at elementary level and seeing individuals chasing each other with guns. And so that really, as a child, sticks with you for a long time. And really, it's something that we as society has made it normal. You know, having children get exposed to gun violence and folks who are, sometimes you see death around you. So definitely as a child, I've seen that. And also as an adult, I hear family members, friends that go through gun violence situations.
And it's something that you can't erase from your mind once you've seen it. So Ashley, I want to talk about something that you brought up today during the public comment, which was the impact on a person's health who has either been involved in gun violence or even been a witness to it. What are some of your concerns that you see in your practice?
My main concern is the impact of vicarious trauma that we don't often talk about. So just the impact that bystanders experience from being exposed to individuals who were a victim of gun violence and even hearing about it on a day-to-day basis, which typically people of color know someone who's been shot or gunned down. So hearing that takes a toll on your body and manifests through what's called somatic symptoms, where you begin to have pains like headaches, stressors that manifest into chronic illness from heart attacks, high blood pressure, and strokes related to stress that actually end up leading to earlier your lifespan being cut short.
Could it be compared to PTSD? I mean, are some of the symptoms similar, and do people often mistake it and not understand why they may be having some of these problems?
It's definitely similar to PTSD, and it is a post-traumatic stress syndrome. And I would also correlate it to PTSS, which is post-traumatic slave syndrome. So the impact of growing up in an environment where you're exposed to gun violence on a day-to-day basis, and oftentimes there's no justice that's been happening to these gun victims as well. So it just takes a toll on your overall mental health and well-being. And there's no mental health resources available. There's also a lack of culturally competent therapists who understand the impact of what's going on and how it really shows up and manifests itself through your body. And when you show up to your healthcare provider and you say things like, oh, I have a headache or I'm having these pains, they're not asking you, did you just witness someone get shot? Did someone in your family just die? They're going to give you some Tylenol to treat the symptom, just because the way the system is designed, they don't have time to sit down and have a full-length conversation and ask what's going on in your life.
And it goes so much deeper. So let's talk about education. And Ayanle, I know this is important to you in your work. It's being proactive and not reactive in terms of gun violence when we're talking about education and the community. So what can we do to address what Ashley's talking about?
Definitely. At BCG, we promote a community-driven approach, and that allows us to focus on the youth to share their story, give them the chance to share their story, and also to talk about their future aspiration. And one of the things that we also add to that is a cultural component where we value our elders, and we want to make sure that they're part of the support group, part of the healing, and part of the storytelling. And so at BCG, definitely we think the prevention piece and proactive piece is that community-driven approach. And there are a lot of organizations out there doing great jobs, wonderful job in terms of making sure that we are proactive and not reactive to gun violence.
Today's summit was so important. I know for both of you, you both were there and spoke. You know, what do you want to see as far as a result to know that your message, your voice was heard as far as action in the days and weeks to come?
I really want to see more mental health resources and funding because there's a lack of funding in the community. So once we get past the stigma even going to therapy, then there's the cost associated with it. So if we can provide funding to individuals who are victims to gun violence as well as the bystanders, the firefighters who show up, the police officers should be connecting individuals at a scene or who were witnesses to mental health clinicians that are available in the area.
And Ayanle, I'll give you the final word.
We want to see impacted community be part of the decision making. And we ask our policymakers, decision makers, to allow us to bring our own solution to the table and to be part of the discussion that has to do with us. And so definitely I'm looking for implementation. The laws that are already in place, we need to make sure that they're implemented, and also funding. We always talk about the lack of funding and lack of resources in our community, and I think that's the two discussions that we need to have at the table.
This will take all of us working together. I thank you both for being here, Ayanle Ismail and Ashley McGirt. Thanks for your time and thanks for your mission.
Thanks for having